Hey everybody, Kaye here on my homestead in Tennessee. And this can happen to anyone, especially on a homestead. I hope it's a mouse. I really hope it's a mouse, although the behavior seems more like a squirrel to me. But yesterday I discovered that the cantaloupe seeds that I was drying on my grow table, the plate had been full and I wanted to save them because the cantaloupe was so good and it was the first cantaloupe I ever grew, just in case I don't get another one out there. So they had been laying there for I think 3 days. In fact, they were kind of clumped together. I remember the second or third day I was just kind of loosening them from the clumps. Last night I was over there and I just happened to notice that half of them were gone and that there were some empty shells laying on the plate, and I posted that on my community page. And as soon as I posted it, I went back over there and discovered that the little red bowl that I had, about 30 or so I had saved the perfect cowpeas for replanting next year. And they were drying in a bowl, little red bowl. They were all gone. Everyone. And so I had sounds of a mouse that I have heard from time to time underneath the house, but I haven't had anybody working here in a while. So I just thought, well, I hadn't heard it lately, out of sight, out of mind, out of earshot, out of mind. So many other things to worry about, especially the garden. By the way, remember all that rain? How I wasn't complaining because I was glad that I wasn't suffering drought like almost the rest of the country. But now it hasn't rained in 2 to 3 weeks and my garden is really suffering. And when all that rain was coming, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get through this whole season without having to water this garden. And it's a good thing because the garden turned out to be huge. So I don't even know how I could water it. So I posted the picture of the little red bowl. And if you're having a mouse problem, or you think you might have a mouse problem, you might want to read the comments under those 2 posts on my community page. A lot of people had suggestions. So I have company coming next week, and I haven't used my guest room since my son was here the first week in July. So that's 7 weeks. I had stripped the bed and washed the sheets and put the sheets and pillowcases on, but I hadn't put the blanket on and the cover. And so the blanket was still down here in my laundry basket for 7 weeks. And I don't even think I've been upstairs in a month. So I didn't want a 2-story house, trust me. But anyway, that was what was sitting on this hill with this pretty view. So it came with the package. It came with the view. I thought, well, I got company next week, and I was just pulling out a baking pan, and I thought, you know what? There's a handful of winter squash from last year still up there in that closet. And I haven't been up there in a month, and it's been summertime. I should probably go see what's rotted. And if something hasn't rotted, I need to bake it and get it in the freezer. I was just about to turn on the stove and I thought, no, let me just put the blanket, which was already washed, I'll just put it in the dryer fluff it up, and then I'll take it up. So I just there were a few things on top, a couple of towels, pull those over, pulled out the blanket, and guess what was underneath the blanket on the bottom of the basket? The shells from the cantaloupe seeds. Yeah. So as I'm pulling it up, I see those seeds, and I'm going, I just dropped it. And so it is laying on the floor over there. And nothing ran out immediately. So I half expect to have a daytime encounter with this mouse. Now, I did see it. I was sitting at the table 3 nights ago, and I just looked down. I was on the phone, and I looked down, and there was a mouse that got within like 10 inches of my foot and turned around and went the other way. And so it was out of my eye shot, so I went around the table to see where it had gone, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So that night, I thought, oh my gosh, it was bedtime. It was just after 10 o'clock. So I scrambled around. I have my mother's 1967 modern furniture in my living room, which I should have sold in LA before I came out here, but I didn't, and it's beautiful. So the last thing I want is some one of my cats in here with those razor sharp claws, which they need, for protection for themselves. And so they've never been trimmed, and they're like razor blades. And just one little scratch would ruin that upholstery. So I'm scrambling, running around all over, getting the towels, covering all the sofa with a sleeping bag and towels on the chairs and everything. And I bring in a small litter box, set it up in there, get a water bowl, and I bring in BJ, because I'm figuring, BJ's real kind of hyper, and she would be the most likely to pick up on something and catch it. So I go to bed. I closed my door so the mouse couldn't come in there. And I closed Lyndon, my senior cat, who was laying right here when the mouse was here, snoring away. She's half deaf and half blind, so she would have never even known the difference. In fact, when I sit a cat down, sometimes I bring the cats through, I'll call them, come to the front door, and I'll bring them to the back door. And I'll set them down right in front and say hi to Lyndon. Or I say, Lyndon, say hi to BJ. Her vision is kind of looking down until I get the cat right in front of her eyes. And maybe she gets a sniff of it, I don't know. But then she starts hissing and she doesn't stop. So she gets very upset. And so I can't, keep them together. So anyway, I had her locked in my bathroom, and I thought, I'm going to bed. She's got the whole house to find this mouse. So I woke up at 1 o'clock to go to the bathroom, and I came out, and as soon as she heard me open the door, she just sat up. She was in the chair, in the big chair in the corner. She sits up like, what's up? I'm here. This is fun. No mouse. And so I put her back in the garage with the rest of them. So I had ordered 2 of these mouse traps. They're the kind that fasten on top of a 5-gallon bucket. And I had ordered them for the basement. I mean, no, I don't have a basement. For under the house, for the original problem. But since I hadn't had anyone here and I didn't want to go down there, they're still sitting in the box. By the way, I don't recommend these. You've probably seen ads for these. I saw ads for these either on, must have been on YouTube. The ramp, there's a little ramp that goes up to the top of the 5-gallon thing, and there's 2 pieces that have to, click together. Well, they had sent me 2 of the same piece, so I didn't have this piece. So if I hadn't had the second one, I wouldn't have been able to put it together. And then I took this little ladder that I put together, and I put it in the 2 slots, and they sheared off and broke. So now I needed to replace that one. So I finally got this thing together. It would not stay on the 5-gallon can. And I don't know if it's the bucket or the lid, I don't know. But I had to fish out the duct tape, do all this duct taping to get this thing to work right. Set it up. This morning, the big reveal, no mouse in there. So anyway, I've got a loose mouse, and I am going to put the blanket. Now I'm going to put it in the washer and wash it again and dry it and take it upstairs, and I'm going to go see if I have, you know, a squash that's rotted and bring it down, take it to the compost. I'm going to cook another one and put that in the freezer, and I'm also canning tomatoes. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on my mouse story, and I'll be sure and let you know what happens. Thank you so much for following my journey here to become a sustainable homesteader at a later age. And if that's something you're interested in, I hope you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.